Hello, welcome back to SwansCast, everyone, and I'm delighted this week to be joined by Ollie. So welcome back, Ollie. I know you've been here
Hiya,
before.
nice to see you again.
Yeah, last season I think you were on with us last, was it?
Yeah, it was last season. I think I did a couple in the build-ups to various games, but I haven't done anything so far this season. So
Yeah,
glad to be back.
yeah, glad to have you back. Do you want to remind everyone where they can find you and where your football views? And I know you do a blog as well.
So probably the best place to find me is on Twitter. So SCFC Ollie. So Ollie, obviously OLI as it says on my display, and I also have a blog called Vibe Football as well, which you can find on the internet if you're interested.
And am I right in saying some of the stuff on your blog is generally just about football? It's not all about the Swans.
Yeah, no, I do a lot of stuff about the Swans, but I also do a lot about the Quakes, which is the wrong way shirt I'm currently wearing, and I do a lot of general football stuff as well.
Okay, what team is that you got on there?
It's the San Jose Earthquakes from America.
Is that your
My
pick for the MLS? Is it? Or...
Yeah, certainly my second team if we're allowing that.
Well, I mean, we got connections just because of the Jordan Morris transfer last year with Seattle. We have been on a couple of podcasts with the guys from there, so I'm sure I'll be able to mention next time we speak to them that we know someone that supports the Quakes and see how they feel about that.
Yeah, I wish that one had worked out.
Yeah, shame, big shame that. Well, anyway, yeah, thanks for joining me again. Just going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So don't forget, as always, if you do enjoy our content here, don't forget to give us a subscribe. It helps keep us ticking along, growing, and showing more people the stuff that we are doing here. So we just want to come out here and talk all things Swansea City, basically, like you would down the pub, or perhaps you're on Talk Sport, but that's our mission. A little bit of a more podcast chat style. So if you're up for hearing more of that, subscribe to us and don't forget to click the like button as well, because that helps more people see. And we always like to hear what you say in the comments. We try and engage as much as possible when we get a chance to reply around work and all the rest of it. But always like to hear your views and to see what everyone thinks about the Swans and whether you disagree with us as well, because obviously the bottom line is we're all talking about our opinions and everyone has their own. So it's always a good debate, especially currently. There's a lot of things to discuss. So Ollie, before we get into like the recent happenings of maybe the last two games since our last podcast, just have a little bit of a catch up about yourself and how you're feeling in regards to the current state of the Swans. I touched earlier the fact that we haven't spoken to you on here since Steve Cooper was in charge. So a lot has changed. So I just want to kind of find out what your pre-season expectations were for the season and how you feel we are doing so far in comparison.
So I think we probably all knew that this was going to be a transitional year this year. The parachute payments have run out. Even if Cooper had stayed, I don't think we'd have been any higher than mid-table, even after how we did last year. I think Russell Martin was the perfect man to get in after Cooper, to be honest. He
Yeah.
plays, I would say, exciting football. I know some people would disagree, but I do enjoy it. And I think that was what we needed after Cooper. I absolutely back him to bring his style of play here. We're seeing patches of it at the minute. We're also seeing the legacy down in League One with MK as to what he sort of started there but didn't finish because they're flying high in that league at the minute. And I think next year, if he's backed in the summer, he'll do very well. But I've really enjoyed the season so far. To be honest, it's been a good chance to get on the road quite a bit, going to my first away game. So obviously, I was robbed of last year's and half of the season before, thanks to COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, I very much enjoyed watching us. I'd say we did some excellent business over the summer. Keeping Grimes was probably the biggest. Perot, Downs, and Sham, Patterson, all been excellent signings. Obafemi as well, starting to come into his own, I think, and I think we'll see a lot more from him in the second half of this season. As I said, I don't think anyone better could have come in after Cooper. To be honest, he's really connected with the club. I think Russell Martin has. He is clearly bought into the project here. His style of play very much fits what we've seen over the past 10 years. And the only complaint really is probably the league position. But of course, it's a bit of a false one at the minute because the league table is kind of all over the place after all the COVID-related postponements, and we're still catching up from them. The only thing that I would say is probably a shame was some fantastic players like Matt O'Reilly and potentially Ryan Longman snip to the net in January. But
yeah, I think you touched on obviously the summer transfer window. I think sometimes a lot of the fans have forgot how much business we did in the summer. How many of those players are currently in the first team when they compare the January window? Because a lot of people consider that to be quite poor. I'm not saying that the players that we missed out on wasn't poor management, especially if you look at the fees. That's a different question. I always look at it of the view, the budget was set in the summer. We had what was left in January. And if you look at the two together, they're not that bad, but it is hard to take. And I fully understand the players that we lost, the ones you mentioned there. O'Reilly in particular, who's thriving up in Scotland. And yeah, that's a shame. But we've always had a bit of that, even under Hugh Jenkins. I mean, re-signing Joe Allen potentially was one of the big. Well, Aubameyang was one of them, wasn't he, back in the day? The left back Alfonso, isn't it? Alfonso Davis.
There's a whole team of them out there.
So it's not like it's a new thing. Maybe a little bit more information came out of this one of the reasons why, and the fact that it was a low fee. It is frustrating. I'm not trying to defend that at all. I'm just looking at the bigger picture. The transfers we have brought in this season, they have been positive. And that's what I think anyway. And we'll have to see if it continues in the summer. And hopefully, when you get next season's budgets, we can get a little bit more backing for the players that Martin needs for his system. And like you said, then push on.
I think one thing that is obviously important to mention as well is because we almost had 2 summer transfer windows, didn't we? We had a few players that Cooper brought in that were presumably players that he wanted. I'm thinking of Liam Walsh.
Yeah, Perot and Walsh, I think, were 2 that came in under him. Maybe Kyle Joseph as well.
Yeah, Kyle Joseph was the first to come in. There was sort of, and then we had a sort of another group of players come in like Obafemi and Sham Patterson, who were.
I'm not 100% sure whether any of the players signed were necessarily ones Cooper wanted. I don't know if he'd already checked out. I think maybe the club scouting system works quite independently at times, and then they ask the manager, use a list of players, which ones will you be happy with? Obviously, the fact that Obafemi was meant to come in January last year ended up coming in the summer, but after Cooper had gone, that highlights that to me. I know there will be some individuality around it, and I think it's quite clear. You can see which ones, like Cooper would be all the loan signings primarily, and then I think with the Russell Martin, like Downs, Patterson, they were definitely players that he wanted to bring in. But then it is that system we have as well as a club. I think that was it Andy Scott that led it. That's now gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, went to join up with Cooper, didn't he? I believe.
Yeah, I remember. I heard he was going to go to Middlesbrough, but then he ended up joining up with Cooper. No, I know
that's a shock.
There.
No, but yeah. Otherwise, I can't argue with anything you said. Transition for me as well, and kind of right in the league position off. Not really worried where we are. I don't feel like we're going to be in trouble with relegation now. I think it's something like 18 points clear. So, and even though we're in the lower half of the table, it's a little bit of a divide down there this season, it seems. But going forward then, I know you touched on bits of it already, but maybe a little bit more detail about your views on Russell Martin himself. I know you've done a little bit of talking already about his sort of time at NK Dons and the legacy he's left there. So perhaps to some fans that might have only seen him at Swansea and not know so much about his past, is there anything you can offer? Now we're in a little bit of a rough time in terms of the league position, a little bit of like insight you can give to what you saw previously from him.
Yeah, I've he's been, when I heard about the style of play that he liked to play at MK, it was the sort of thing that obviously put him on the radar of a lot of Swans fans immediately, because it always seemed like a perfect fit and something that was more of a case of when rather than if. I think the best way of describing it is the sort of perhaps Rodgers to Laudrup transition from the way that it's changed at MK, which was they've gone for a lot less possession, but you can still see the way his style of play is still very much there. And I think they could well be in the Championship next season, and a lot of that does come down to him and some of the excellent business that he's done. Scott Twine, Matt O'Reilly, etc., and those kind of players he may well bring to us one day. And I think he left them in a good shape, and that does point in a positive light for when he will inevitably leave us at some point. He's not going to be here for forever, and I think he will go on and have bigger and better things. I think he's a fantastic manager. The way he conducts himself, the way he seems to have good man management skills with the players and the style of play as well. Even if it is perhaps a slightly bit toothless at times, I do think we will have an excellent year next year, as he's predicted as well.
Like maybe it is toothless at times. The big concern for me, and I'm sure we'll discuss it later, is fitness. And I think a lot of our issues this season have come down to that. And I would say the entire reason, the bad performance up at the likes of Hull and Stoke, I from what I watched in both games, put down entirely to fitness. I think Martin touched upon it himself afterwards as well in his interview. A lot of fans criticising him for that, saying that he should have taken on the chin, said it was his fault in his selection. I think he did come out afterwards, actually, in the pre-match conference for remind me, Bristol City, and said, he made some mistakes there. But I think it's also worth remembering it is only his second club. He went straight into management at MK Dons, where he was player manager, and he is still learning himself. So we're not in a position as a club where we can get, like, if you want a manager that's going to play this style and is good at doing it, they're probably going to be playing in a higher league. So we're in a situation where we're taking someone up and coming, and the same as any player that's up and coming, they're learning their trade, and then they go on to bigger, better things unless we get promotion. Just look at Graham Potter, for example. So there's going to be mistakes and stuff he needs to iron out as a manager. And I'm sure as long as the most important thing is being able to acknowledge it yourself and then take that into the next match and the matches after. And I feel like he is able to do that, but obviously I think it's a little bit still too early to judge overall. It comes back to what you were saying about transition season. For me, like, proper judgment will start after the summer, I think. There's enough time then and full pre-season where he's had enough time to do what he needs to do. It's not going to still be perfect because you're not going to get the full squad of players that he still wants. That would take a couple of years. Just ask the likes of Klopp at Liverpool, for example. But I'm expecting a lot better after the summer, same as you there.
I think the way we play, we're never, as you said, we're never going to get the finished article. We're going to have young managers who are going to go on to bigger and better things. And I think that applies to players as well. I think one of Flynn Downs or Joe Perot will probably be sold this summer, if I'm honest.
Well, maybe we'll have to wait and see on that one. It's still early days to be talking about we're going to lose in the summer.
I don't want to tempt fate. I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see what happens there. But well, my next question was how was the transition in style going? But I think you've touched on that quite a lot. But maybe you can. Obviously, it's a journey. We're saying it's going to be a lot better next summer. Is there any immediate trends that you think that we still need to get fixed? And is it something that Martin can just fix after a bit of training? Or are they sort of issues that we need different personnel in to get them sorted?
I think as you touched on, fitness has been a clear problem this season. I'm slightly fed up of hearing it's been a game too far. When we have a 3-game week, I feel like we've heard that many times this season. But I do think there is a case of personnel. We're starting to see that happen. The likes of Bidwell and people like Bender as well early in the season, they were always square pegs in round holes that were not going to fit in the system. And now we're seeing people like Fisher come in, who's clearly excellent with his feet, and I think will suit the style of play very well. I'm looking forward to seeing Ogbita integrated into the side if he ever comes back from his injury. We obviously haven't seen him yet, but I think he's clearly a sort of type of player that he will like. And I think there are certain people who will not come along for the ride in terms of this system and this project, but there are others who will and will adapt accordingly. I think Ryan Manning is the one that always pops out in my head. Didn't really feature too heavily under Cooper, but it's just been one of the standout players this season for me. He's become a top left-sided centre-back, and it's a very unique skill set that makes me think he won't move on anytime soon because he is so suited to this team in a specific role.
Yeah. It's funny you touched on him because I agree. I think he's had a really good season. However, I think he's been quite poor in the last couple of matches. I will say that just to play devil's advocate. I think he's played a lot. I think he's played a lot more than he's been used to recently. So, I'm not going in on him. I just think his performances have tailed off lately. Maybe again, I don't know whether he's getting a bit confident, but some of his passing has been a bit iffy the last couple of games. But at the same time, he's still been putting in some good defensive shifts.
Yeah.
So swings and roundabouts. It's the way that he wants to play. You can't criticize him too much because he is one of the players sometimes that will try a risky pass, and it doesn't always come off. And I wouldn't ever criticize someone for doing that as long as you're doing it in the right parts of the pitch. And it's not
there is
always
definitely
in the right parts of the pitch for him.
a time and a place for that sort of thing.
Yeah, so you do a ball and he gets intercepted, and the problem is especially when he's playing in the centre back role, he's already out of position then to get back on the counter. So look, it's still learning. I'm not to go in on him. It's just something I've picked up on the last couple of games. There has been a couple of things that I feel like he can adjust and tweak to get back to the levels I thought he was playing earlier in the season.
Yeah, as you said, he is adjusting. He's learning a completely new role. From what I've seen, he's a very versatile player anyway.
Yeah.
But this sort
he's
of
played in central midfield before in the past as well. So
we've never seen that. That's something I would like to.
I think once he's come off the bench there, maybe.
Yeah,
but
we're just
not
so
loads.
position, aren't we?
No, yeah. Well, I know you've said how much you rate Ryan Manning this season, but who do you think the best player so far is this year?
While he has been probably a little bit poor over the past few weeks up until a very important goal for his confidence on Sunday, I don't think you can look past Joel Perreault. You've got his 14 goals, which for a man playing in his first season in another country, in a new league, a tough league as well, the Championship, I think that's a fantastic return and probably not the level I expected him to reach, to be honest.
Well, didn't John Van Sweden say he was one of the worst signings we've ever made?
Yeah, that comes back to haunt him, I think, more and more every week. But on top of his fantastic goal return, he's one of the top scorers in the division. He's also got 4 assists as well, which I think is something that shows that he clearly has more to his game than just goals. And I think him and Obafemi, we're going to see it more now, are going to dovetail very nicely.
Yeah, quite excited to see what those two playing together offers going forward. Now we've had a taster of it, and Obafemi getting amongst the goals as well, which has been nice to see recently. All of a sudden, it's taken a burden off Patterson and Perreault, and you've got another threat, obviously, on the pitch. So that's positives. Okay, fair enough. That's some good conversation. So let's move on and actually talk about the last week or so. So unfortunately, I know we've been talking quite positively there, but the first part is not so much positive. We're going to look at Stoke 3, Swansea 0, which, I was quite excited to watch this one. As, listeners to the podcast will know, with my work shifts, I can't always watch all of the games. I'm sure everyone can't watch all of the games. But yeah, the evening ones especially, I quite enjoy because it gives me the opportunity to watch them, whether that's, on Swans TV or get down to the stadium in the home games. But run myself a bath, watching the football, and yeah, what a bad performance. And it is, there's no like, making it look nice or nothing. It was awful. And I know you were saying earlier, you don't want to hear the whole phrase about 3-game weeks and being tired. I don't know if you've heard on the podcast, or I highlighted quite early in the season, there was a couple in a row where we had 3-game weeks, and the third game was always atrocious. I noticed a trend quite early on. So the first one especially, we played quite well. When I was looking at the trend as well, often it would be, a draw or win. Maybe would deserve to win the game, the one that we drawn. The midweek one, again, quite similar. We play well and get a result. And then the third one would just fall off a cliff. The performance was just not there. And it's just awful. And it happened a couple of times. And this run we've been on recently, I believe it was 2 weeks in a row where we had Saturday, midweek, Saturday, midweek, Saturday. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that going up to a place like Stoke, even in the midweek, which would have been like the 4th game or more, I can't even remember at this point. But yeah, it did not surprise me at all, especially on the back of a performance against Blackburn with 10 men, which they put a shift in. They just didn't get going up in Stoke. And painful to watch. But you went up there, so I'd imagine it was more painful for you.
It was, to be honest, it was even more painful for me. We arrived at about 5 o'clock for 7:45 kickoff. I don't know if you've ever been to Stoke, but there is very little
Not
to
the
do.
stadium, but I've been to Stoke. There's a nice couple of restaurants, not so like across the road, though, isn't there? I'm sure there's like a Harvester or something.
The Harvester was the only thing to do. We managed to persuade them to let us in there to have a drink, but oh god, it was not. We should have known then, but the football was even still the worst part of the day.
Should have just gone up to Alton Towers on the upper road as well.
Honestly, it would have been we'd have enjoyed ourselves far more, I think.
But yeah, so I think it is fitness. Like it comes back to the pre-season. They didn't have one essentially.
No.
I don't think Cooper was bothering when obviously he was taking training for that duration when he was still here. Don't feel like he was a high standard. They had COVID wiped the squad out in the summer as well.
Yeah.
And then they come back. Russell Martin's coming in like a week before the season kicks off, and yeah, atrocious in terms of the fitness and where we were. And to play the style of play, they needed to be so much better in terms of the fitness. So as much as we've gone through a lot of the season so far, you need to be prepared before that starts. And I don't think that preparation was there. So it is gonna, for me, I think it's gonna be a constant problem for the rest of the season. And that's why I come back to next season is better judge of how it's going because he'll have that time to rectify it. I don't know what your thoughts are on the reasons for the poor performance.
I always, as you said there, I always got the impression that pre-season under Cooper was not done to a high standard. We did come back a little bit all over the place, but as you said, fitness. I think there are players who we have a small squad. In all truth, we have probably one of the smallest squads in the division, and that in a style of play that is so physically demanding, that is a problem. And Stoke was just a sort of culmination of everything that could go wrong. We obviously had misfortune of a red card. It was a very cold night, so it can't have been enjoyable for the players. We were playing against an excellent side. They had some players who really troubled us. I remember Philogene Bidas on loan from Villa just caused us problems from minute one, and he eventually scored the first goal, and we just couldn't live with them. And in all truth, after such a high, after beating Blackburn on Saturday, where we clearly dug in so much, it was just. I don't want to say it, but it was one game too far.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a roller coaster season. You get the high, you get the low. Quite cliche, but literally how it is. And we'll go on to it. But there was another high that came straight afterwards. But what do you make of the red card then? I know it didn't affect the game. Let's be honest, it did not affect the result at all. I don't think there would have been anything different. Essentially, you'd argue if it wasn't for the red card, they would have gone 2-0 up anyway. We got the red card and then it went 2-0. We were never going to come back from 2-0 is my point, regardless if he got sent off or not. But do you think it was a red card?
I think if it even brushes your hand in that sort of position, you're going, to be honest. I can see why people were complaining about it. It was over the other side of the pitch to where we were sitting behind the goal. So I didn't really know what was going on at first until I assumed it was handball that he was sent off for. I watched it back and I thought it was probably the right decision, to be honest.
That's fair enough. I know it's been quite a split opinion on this one, and I'm in the other camp really, where I think I don't think it should be a red card because it's completely accidental. And when you do look at the laws, it does have a couple of things that say in there about intent and if it's a deflection, it's your hand, or bounces a certain way and it's your hand as a result. If your arm's not in a natural position and all the rest of it, without quoting what it says. Looking at the situation, he's running in to make the clearance and his arm is kind of by his side, but like out a little bit. And I can't remember. I need to watch a replay to get it right. But the way that it bounces up and hits his arm, I just thought it was very, very harsh to send a player off for that when there's it's a complete accident basically. So you're getting a player sent off the pitch for a complete accident, whereas the same punishment is given for a player who purposely would use his hands in that situation to save the ball.
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Why is the punishment the same? I understand from Stoke's perspective, it's frustrating they didn't score. I would still give the penalty. I have no questions about that.
The penalty,
but I don't really think the two things need to happen, where it's a red card and a penalty when there's no intent at all. I think that's what the problem is. And I thought that it was some sort of address about something similar with this whole double jeopardy thing. I don't think it was
Yeah,
necessarily about the handball in the box, but a similar circumstance. Was it last man they've done that for, or the
yeah.
goalkeeper?
I think they've done it if you deny a clear goal score. So you can only be sent off for a penalty if you deny a clear goal score opportunity, which I suppose the ref in this situation thought that he had, and maybe I can see I would have understood it if he
Yeah,
hadn't given it, but I also do understand why,
yeah,
because obviously no VAR. He in real time, I can see why he gave it. To be honest,
yeah. It's fair. You can't. I mean, it can go both ways, I guess, and you can have opinions on it. I think not everyone's going to agree on this one. I would like to see a little bit more of perhaps that's what the problem is. There needs to be more of a clarification in the rules about instances like this, because
it does happen, doesn't it? Yeah,
it happens. And what is the right or wrong answer? Because, like I said, the way I was interpreting the rules when I read them, you can interpret it either way. So if you can interpret it either way, in another day, another referee, if they don't give the red card, that's where the problem is. And I'm sure there is instances where that's been the case. The way I see it, and I mentioned this just now, but like, do you remember Luis Suarez against Ghana in the World Cup?
I do have
Yeah.
impossible to forget.
So that is the same punishment as what happened to Ryan Bennett, but one of them for me is 10 times worse than the other one.
Yeah, no, I do know what you mean.
That's my point. So they're still getting the chance to go get the penalty and score the goal. And how many? I don't know the statistics are, but I would say like 90% penalties probably get scored.
I think they have 0.77 xg for a penalty. But I'd have guessed it's probably higher than that percentage gets scored.
Okay, say 80% penalties get scored then.
Yeah. I mean, it's a high percentage, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he probably would have gone in if he didn't hit his hand, but you can't say 100%. Another part of his body wouldn't have blocked it. But yeah, I think that's enough on the penalty anyway. A couple of the goals then, you said the player scored the first goal. It was quite tricky all night. I'm not even going to attempt his name. You did a good pronunciation earlier. But yeah, he definitely was a thorn in our side. I'm looking at the SofaScore ratings now, and apart from one of the midfielders, he got the highest rating. I feel like the goal was coming. It was good that we got to half time at 0-0. I was hoping we'd go in and regroup and come out fighting, but they scored basically as soon as they kicked it off, didn't they?
Yeah, we shuffled the pack at half time. We brought in, so I can't remember who we brought in. I think it was it maybe Perot?
Perot came on for Corey Smith.
Yeah. I think the team selection was all wrong, but in all truth, I don't think I ever expected us to win. They say cold Tuesday night in Stoke. There is really no harder place to go, and that proved to be true for us.
Yeah. Out of obviously we had the penalty, and then the third goal, I thought when I initially saw it, I thought the keeper had done quite poorly, but I was watching on my phone basically. When I saw a replay, it's actually quite a good finish across the goal. Don't know why I thought he'd gone near post, but there's no replays on the feed I was watching, so I couldn't quite get a good angle. But yeah, a good finish there. But obviously the defending again in question. In regards to the team selection, yeah, very defensive. But what's the reasons for the players rested? I guess his fitness again. He's mentioned Perot being quite tired recently, and Patterson working his way back in. So, what other options do we have?
Exactly. I suppose we are. As I said, we have a small squad. We've got to work with what we have, and I think that was after Carl Norton's injury, so he wasn't available. We didn't play Burns, which I think we probably should have, but I do still feel maybe the best use of our resources wasn't having Fulton, Grimes, Smith, Downs, and Cham all on the pitch together, who all, I mean, I know Cham plays further forward, but they all can play the same role.
Yeah.
And having 5 out of our 11 players as central midfielders probably is slightly negative. But as you said, the attacking options needed a rest, so there was. And if we hadn't rested them, we wouldn't have had such a good day against Bristol City on Sunday.
Interesting to see Jan Dando's on the bench. I mean,
yeah,
if he can't get in the team when all them attackers are not playing, then he's gone. We know he's gone anyway, but even making the bench, and he doesn't want to bring
I
him
was
on.
very surprised when I saw that he travelled, to be honest. I feel like I've mentioned this a few times on Twitter. I think because I would assume there was an option to that maybe Ollie Cooper should have been recalled in January, having an excellent season on loan at Newport.
Maybe he's just doing well, and they don't want to
Yeah,
disrupt that. Get him in the
I
summer
know. I
and
would
integrate him.
understand that.
Yeah,
He's
because look what
I
happened
think
to
he's
Brandon last year.
top assist in League Two currently. So he certainly is having a great season. And next year, I think there's certainly a role for him within this team. That's for sure.
There's a gap in that central attacking midfield position, especially when we did sign someone to fill it in, and he's now playing left wing back the last couple of games. So
yeah, that's been an interesting one. I feel like
which is a massive shame because he had his best game against I think it was Luton at home.
Luton. Yeah, he ran.
Caused trouble on the
wing,
wing, and now since he's been back there, he can't offer as much.
I do feel bad for Han as well. To be honest, I can imagine he was probably sold a dream which didn't involve playing left wing back with 10 men on a rainy night.
He did play there a couple of games for his club back in Germany, but I don't think obviously he would choose to play there.
No, it's not his primary position, of course. But I think that is just misfortune because I much prefer watching Manning play centre back. I think we're much better with him there.
Yeah,
and obviously Ogbita isn't quite ready yet because of an injury.
The red card for Manning, wasn't it? The Norton's injury, essentially.
Oh, of course, he was suspended for that game as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I forgot about
that. Another dodgy red card, potentially.
Yeah. Oh, that was never a red card, but I think you've covered that already.
Yeah. We talked about that one. The last thing I want to touch perhaps on this game is then obviously Jay Fulton starting. He's obviously in and around the squad. I'd be surprised if he still doesn't go in the summer. But he has been getting involved a bit more recently. So what do you make of his situation?
In all truth, I do think if we clearly, I imagine we tried to raise funds. We were clearly trying to raise funds in January. If we could have got rid of him, that probably would have been ideal. He is one of the people I touched on Bidwell and Bender earlier as two examples, but I think Fulton is another one who's a square peg in a round hole in this team.
Don't you think
he's an excellent servant for the club? Yeah. I'm not gonna slander Fulton. He's been great over the years, but I do feel his time's up here now, and it was a case of our thin squad. I'm
not sure he's necessarily a square peg in a round hole. I think he can be fit in the system.
Yeah, maybe
just as well as Corey Smith.
Yeah, I think I'm doing him a bit of a disservice there, maybe.
Plus, you got to remember he played similar football regularly when Potter was in charge at this club, so he can definitely do it. He offers a bit of steel. I know Downs is basically the one that perhaps has taken his position. I'm not saying he should start ahead of Downs, but I don't see what Smith offers over him personally.
I don't like Smith as a number 10 as he's been frequently played. I really don't think that works.
No, I don't either. And if you want to look at their attacking stats, I'm not saying that Fulton is a 10 either, but one of them has scored goals for the club and the other one hasn't.
Oh, Corey Smith he's not the best in front of goal, is he? I do like what he does. And there's a lot of stats which I think probably you can't almost quantify, such as his experience, his know-how, having played for so long at this level, which he does certainly bring to the side, but his return in front of goal is poor. Remarkable, he scored against United. He's
got a role and he's got a job.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he hasn't, but I just don't know. Obviously, the first half of the season, especially, what he was bringing more to the squad than what Fulton could bring for him to not even make the bench for large periods. I believe, though, there's a connection with Martin from previous.
Yeah, I was going to say that's exactly what I was just about to say. I think the fact he was a familiar face, and I think the same probably exists for Bennett as well, certainly gave him perhaps an improved role within the team than he might have got otherwise.
Yeah, perhaps to help settle the dressing room or something.
Yeah, it's understandable. Yeah. And a player with such vast experience as him, if the manager can come in and rely on him, he's going to cultivate the dressing room to the new manager's ideas, I think, as well.
Yes, indeed. Okay, moving on to a little bit more positive chat then after that rainy day at Stoke. 3-1 over Bristol City, I believe our first double since 1950s, was it?
I heard 1937 at the ground, but I don't think that was right. I think it was 1950s. So I think it was 50.
A long time ago, whichever one it is. I sort of think 1950s.
Very many years.
But yeah, I mean, I am going to fact check that. I've seen a couple of different things, but bottom line is, it's been a while. over
Yeah,
50 years.
definitely.
Let's just say over 50 years. Let's hope we can get 2 against our rivals in the same
Yeah,
season.
that
Eh?
would be
Touch
nice.
wood.
I feel like I won't ever see a double in my life again if
I
that's
don't
what
think
happens.
anyone's going to care where we finish this season if that happens.
No, I would agree with that.
But yeah, so I mean, didn't get off to the best start, arguably. Well, I say start. First half was quite poor
Yeah,
by
it was
all
very
accounts
poor.
from my several sources. Obviously, my visual sources are limited to the high extended highlight reel on Swan's channel. But I've spoke to a couple at the ground. First half was quite dull, and we go 1-0 down just before half time with Weimann scoring. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was from us giving the ball away again.
Yeah, it was. I don't think we came out the blocks very well, and it was an individual mistake. I must be honest, I'm not sure who from. In my head, it was one of may well have been Manning or
I know. I was going to
Grimes.
say, is it after what I said earlier?
Yeah,
Got a feeling it might have been Manning.
I think it might have been one of them too. But yeah, it was a poor goal to concede. But at the same time, it was an excellent finish from Andy Weimann. There's not a lot of Fisher could have done in goal there.
Yeah.
But it came just before half time. You can imagine it wouldn't have altered Martin's team talk too much, if anything, given them the sort of kit that they needed, because we didn't come out the blocks well at all. We were sluggish. And I thought for the first half, it was a game between two quite poor sides.
Yeah, perhaps, a little bit of we need something to get us going at that point, especially after the trip to Stoke. The goal going 1-0 down, whatever Martin said at half time, perhaps is what's done that. So looking at the momentum graph. Yeah, looking at the momentum graph on SofaScore, second half basically looks like it was only one team involved.
Yeah, that would describe it pretty well, I'd say.
And yeah, we scored 3 goals in the second half. So first time we've done that since Luton away, perhaps.
We had an excellent comeback there.
Yeah. So opening the scoring for us, Michael Obafemi, not long after half time, with an excellent assist from Christie, finding him at the back post where it's basically a tap-in. But it's not like the easiest tap-in that you will just, square across the box. It was kind of a diagonal through from corner to basically the far post, and Obafemi snuck through behind the defence untracked somehow. I'm not sure how, but he got in.
I wanted to pick up on that goal because I thought it showed real striker's instinct from Obafemi that perhaps, as good as Pro is, he hasn't shown this season. I read the other day he hasn't had a single shot in the 6-yard box all season, which I thought was quite telling. But Obafemi seems to be slightly more of a sort of poacher like that. I thought that was a fantastic goal. Very, very few strikers would have gambled in that position. There was the way he stuck his leg out to knock it in. I think, obviously, it didn't look to be the most difficult finishes in the end, but I think the way he gambled was just excellent. I was really impressed with him. And I have been for the past few weeks. Something seems to have changed, whether it's Martin who's had a word with him, because his issues were well documented at the start of the season, but he's been absolutely excellent for the past few weeks, and long may it continue.
Yeah. So I know you just touched on Perot versus Obafemi. I think Perot perhaps is a little bit more technical rather than a poacher. He'll back himself on a 1v1. He can dribble the ball when he gets going, and he's definitely got a good finish on him. Like the goal against Blackpool comes to mind in terms of strike from outside the box there. And Obafemi's quite quick. He'll get in more dangerous positions, perhaps like over the line, if you like, behind the line, and like you said, getting in behind poaching goals and stuff. So there's a good combination, though, good differences to have.
They'll dovetail very nicely.
Yeah.
The way they work is they obviously provide two very different skills to the team.
Yeah.
The way Perot can finish right side the box, the way Obafemi can finish in the 6-yard box, but also Obafemi's pace compared to Perot's technical ability. I think that could become an excellent strike partnership in a very sort of old school way that we don't see strike partnerships so much anymore.
No, but hopefully we'll see more to come from those two. So yeah, that was our first goal. So I think that gives us the little booster we needed coming out after half time, because that was in the 54th minute, or I believe that's when we scored our equaliser. Yeah, 54th. Took a little bit longer to perhaps get the second, but Cyrus Christie finally getting on the score sheet. I think long time coming. He's had a couple of chances. So what did you make of him? Obviously an assist and a goal now.
I think he was excellent again. When I was writing my thoughts up after this game on Twitter, Obafemi and Christie were the two I picked out from this one, and I think obviously Christie got a goal and an assist. A goal has been coming for him. We could see it was going to happen at some point. He's really, I don't think losing Laird has mattered at all, to be honest, since Christie has come in.
No,
He's
I agree.
adapted seamlessly to this side, and hopefully he'll be here long beyond the end of the season. But in this game specifically, his energy up and down the right-hand side and the way he looked to bring the ball forward, and we saw that by the fact that, and whether he'll admit it, because obviously it ended up at Obafemi's feet, the first one was a shot. And he did eventually get that goal. A very strange goal. There was a lot of ricochets going on. It was very much pinball.
Yeah, I didn't really know what happened there, but at the bottom, the only thing that matters is it got put into the goal in the end. Yeah, but
to be honest, I didn't think it was going to when I was watching.
I mean, when was the last time we had a bit of luck like that? I think we deserved it.
Exactly, you needed, didn't you?
And you touched on it earlier, but Joe Perreault getting one for confidence, perhaps at the end.
He needed that very much, I think.
94th minute. Again, I think it was some sort of clearance into the middle of the pitch that was headed or whatever, just fell to Perreault at his feet. And he could see he was 1v1 with a defender, and he just basically, you could just tell he was like, you know what, nah, I'm not passing this, I'm going for this. No, and he nutmegs the defender. I don't know if it was Thomas Callis in the middle, but whoever it was, he nutmegs the defender. And he's through with Ncham, who he could easily just slip the ball to, run it up to the keeper, square the ball over, and it's a tap in. But he doesn't want to do that, and he just I believe he was outside the box actually when he took the shot.
Yeah, I thought that
he loves taking a shot from outside the box. Yeah, and he just finesses it down into the bottom corner. Good finish.
It was an excellent finish, and I was getting ready for 3-1 because obviously it was right in front of me in the south stand. I was getting ready for 3-1 before I'd even got in because I knew he was going to shoot, and that was his moment, which he very much needed because he's been working off. He hasn't. He's missed a few big chances. I remember he missed one at Huddersfield, and he hasn't been the same player. And I think what we'll see now after that goal is the Perreault that we've seen throughout most of this season.
Let's hope he comes back. Good game overall. Obviously, it's always nice to get the wins over Bristol. 2 in the season we already touched on. Very good. But a couple of interesting things from the team selection. We saw Finlay Burns for the first time. So what did you make of his inclusion?
I thought he was excellent, to be honest. It was a very composed debut. Only 18, which I think he has a very bright future in the game that is going to be at a much higher level than us, to be honest. I remember reading when he first joined that City had paid $250,000 for him as a 13-year-old, which I think is testament to his ability.
That's crazy. I didn't even know you were allowed to do that.
It doesn't seem like it should be allowed, but apparently so. I thought he was excellent. He will become a key player for us. I imagine it hasn't been publicised, but I can imagine there's some sort of agreement that we may be able to extend the loan beyond this season, whether it's not so much an option, but a sort of gentleman's agreement that if he gets enough games, he can stay next year. He looks like an excellent defender who will go on to improve. A very good start as well.
How is he on the ball?
Confident. He's obviously come through the Man City system.
I just think that's important for our defenders, and maybe why Reece Williams wasn't as successful down here.
No, I think he will succeed elsewhere as well. They're both 6'5", so when I saw we signed another young 6'5" centre back, I was slightly concerned. And I think when Burns was brought in, there were quite a lot of raised eyebrows, given it seemed to be that Brandon Cooper was going to end up going out on loan. So, but I think that will have made people realise that he is someone who will contribute in the second half of this season.
I said this before, but the way I see that is obviously Brandon hasn't really featured first team all season. He did at the start when we had injuries and issues, but since didn't really play too much.
Yeah.
So why have him on the bench when he can go to League One? He's in.
I think they're in League Two, Swindon, but from what I've heard, they
League
play.
Two. But regardless which league it is, and start every game to the end of the season, where he's going to play football rather than be on the bench or play 1 or 2 here. and okay, we brought someone in to replace him. The point is, like, yeah, we can use him. We used Burns, and he had a really good game. But if we don't use him, it's not our player that's not playing.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I think
it's yeah.
And if he can come in and he may well be one of those that ends up like Frank Lampard, where we say he was once at the Swans, but I don't want to put too much pressure on his shoulders, of course.
Maybe like Geehee, is it?
Yeah, and I mean, I think Conor Gallagher is another one in that category as well, who we look back on and say that he was once a Swan, made of a Liberty, or the Swansea.com as it is now.
Yeah. So, other than that, obviously Ryan Manning has come back into the team. Hanswolf still at left wing back, and Downs going back into midfield. Any surprises? Anything you would like to see? Dando still on the bench.
I'm not sure, to be honest. In terms of surprises, I don't think. I'd quite like to see. Obviously, Ncham came in from the bench in this game. His performances, I probably wouldn't say have been as good recently as they were earlier in the season. I think he's a little bit inconsistent anyway. Celtic fans warned us of this before he came here, and that's the reason why he's not playing at a higher level. But I think maybe as an impact player, he could do well, and we have options in the final third now that Patson's back. Wolf will eventually move back into a more advanced role. We have Ncham, Perot, of course, and Obafemi, who is now playing well. So I think we may actually have some level of depth and a variety of different options that we can go with and set up in a different way. That means we'll remain unpredictable for teams to set up against.
Yeah. It looks like they attacked it quite well this week. We had 71% possession, 16 shots, 6 of them on target. So we've had criticism for our attack this season. I'll remind everyone of last season, especially after Christmas, I would say February onwards, where we were really struggling in attack under Steve Cooper, and there was a lot of games where we were getting maybe 4 or 5 shots in the entire game.
Yeah.
So as much as, yes, our attack perhaps can still improve, when I'm looking at these stats every game, they're consistently around 10 or above. Maybe the Stoke game wasn't, and that's a bit of an anomaly there. But in general, we are getting shots away. They might not all be on target. They might not all be the best opportunities. But like you said earlier, it's going to be a journey. It's improving, and we're still heading towards next season where perhaps we're looking to be more of the real deal, perhaps starting next year. So, yeah, still good things to come.
I absolutely believe in the way this style of play sets us up. We clearly are in the final third a lot more than we were last season, even if there are some moments where we end up going backwards. All we need is a team to switch off, and we can create an opportunity. And I think the amount of opportunities we create, well, as you said, Stoke was an anomaly, but as our XG, one thing I had in my notes here that I wanted to pick up on was, as our XG has been going up in the past few weeks, we've been creating more and more chances. It's coincided with a period of poor finishing, and perhaps some of our performances haven't been as bad as the results have made out. But I think with, as you said, Obafemi coming good now and Perot, we might have some excellent results in the second half of the season. And I remember Russell Martin at MK Dons before coming here, they had a poor first half of the season and were excellent in the second half of last season, and we may well see that here. So hopefully, the aim for the rest of the season is to finish the season as well as we possibly can. I've seen a lot of people saying that why were we getting the loans? We're only finishing mid-table. I think we should try and finish as high as we can. Obviously, I can see us finishing somewhere in between 12th and 16th, to be honest.
Yeah, we predicted 14th, I think that's what it was. It was basically in that area we predicted.
I think before the season I went with 14th as well. So we agree.
I didn't realise, but interestingly, it says we missed 5. We had 5 big chances in this game, and we missed 3. So do you remember any standout moments where we should have scored? Because apparently there was 3 of them.
Oh, I'm trying to think back. I mean, we did create chances. I remember that much, but I can't remember many that would fall into the category of being perhaps a big chance. There was a less. My thinking might be that the Ncham one where he headed it back at the keeper from a rebound could count as a big chance. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
potentially. I think
whether things like that.
usually a big chance is like, a high XG where you're expecting them to score. I
Yeah,
think that's how they count it.
that's probably it. I think
Yeah.
the first that weird little pinball thing
Yeah,
probably
perhaps
counts
like
too.
3 of them came from that, but
Yeah,
Okay, well, hopefully we can go on now to the next games and keep that high momentum going. But
yeah,
the way it's been going, it wouldn't surprise me if it goes back the other way. But we'll talk about that in a second. A little bit of news to touch on first. A couple of things this week. Today it came out actually about Cyrus Christie's doing something nice, offer to pay for one of the fans' season tickets, which I thought was a really nice gesture. Obviously, times are tough at the moment, and there's a lot to be said about money and prices going up all across the board for everyone. I'm not here to talk about politics, but one fan in particular, I'm sure a lot of people know of him, came into a little bit of difficulty getting his season ticket renewed for last season. I think it was set up a GoFundMe, or one of his friends did for him, which, to be fair, the Jack Army fans, and fair play to everyone, contributed and got it paid for. And after it was sorted, Cyrus Christie communicated with the people who set it up and offered to pay for the ticket in full. So I think fair play there, really good gesture, really
yeah,
nice to see that, especially someone on loan. They don't always get as involved with the community as he has done there. So credit where due. Like I said, I think the ticket was already paid for, but in the end, he ended up providing. Yeah, don't know. I can't get my words up. He's provided him with a signed shirt, so still a
yeah.
nice little token gesture there.
I thought that was excellent from Cyrus, and
Yeah,
good to see that he's bought into the local community and is giving back. I thought that was a fantastic gesture.
yeah, very, very nice to see that. Bit of team news, and apparently Carl Norton's still unavailable for Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield United, Ryan Bennett though is available.
I was slightly confused, but I thought it would be a 3-game ban, but
Was it a
clearly
straight red or second yellow?
it was a straight red, which I thought was
I
is
think it's
slightly
because of what it
confusing.
was. It was because it was.
Yeah, perhaps. I was
Yeah.
I was surprised when I saw that he was back, but there we are. Shame about Norton though, especially. I think he's a very important player for us. So we need him back as soon as you can. I think Martin said probably Bournemouth will come a little bit too soon for him, but the game after that, which would be West Brom, I think.
Yeah, he said potentially Bournemouth, but they'll have to just see what happens. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought they'll rush him back.
No, I doubt they'd rush him back, especially
better. Yeah, go on.
Especially because obviously he's getting on a bit now, isn't he? He's 33, I think.
I think so. Ogbetta's still out with a hamstring injury as well, so you won't be seeing him this time.
I'm looking forward to that when he does come in. I hope I think he'll be a lot better than most people are expecting. Because obviously, coming from Shrewsbury, maybe people aren't expecting huge things from him. But
Yeah,
I think he'll
I
do
was
very
talking
well.
to a couple of people about that. They were saying, why are we signing players from there? Obviously, we're preparing for League One, and I'm just like, have you actually followed the Swans for long? Because where did Neil Taylor come from when we signed him in the Championship?
Ashley Williams.
Where did Ashley Williams come from? Where did Angel Rangel come from? Some Tier 3 club in Spain that nobody probably can even knows exists.
I can't remember
Yeah.
the team.
So, you can't just say a player's not good enough because they come from a lower league. The history of Ogbeta is he's from Man United Youth Academy. It was in Man City, one of them.
I think it was City because Mark Allen, who was sporting director, knew him.
Yeah, so he's gone off on a free because that's what happens to most players in academies of these big clubs.
Yeah.
Joined a club in a lower league, showed what he can do, and now he's working his way up. It's not an unheard story. Look at Jamie Vardy, for God's sake. Just like
there's so many examples. I think that's a very sort of shallow-minded view to say that just because he came from there, he won't succeed. I think he'll do very well. We've signed players from a lower level before.
We've signed Flint Downs from League One, and apparently now he's good enough for the Premier League. So that would have been a 2-league jump. It's just silly. Anyway, Horahan obviously now plays for Sheffield United. Conor Horahan on loan with us the end of last season. Has been urging Sheffield to do their homework on the Swans. Apparently he's been speaking to some of the current players who we played with last year and talking about how obviously we're playing some nice football, some nice enjoyable football. So he's come out in the media and saying he hopes his team has done their homework. You'd like to think he would know the answer to that question.
Yeah, you would like to think that they've been preparing from their point of view. I mean, I hope they haven't been from ours,
but
but
it's a weird thing to come out and say, I hope my team's done the homework. Like, you know what you've been doing in training.
Unless he hasn't been turning up. But again, you would like to assume from their point of view that he has.
It's probably all mind games, isn't it? So
yeah, that is a strange one.
Somebody's like, "Oh, I used to play for Swansea. Let's have an interview. Let's talk about something."
A very different team he played for as well, didn't he? He played for the very worst of Cooper's style of play. It was a very different makeup to what we have now.
Yeah, so he was talking about that, to be fair, in the interview, about how it's different now, and the boys are saying that they're playing some nice stuff, essentially, is what the gist what he was saying. But the big news I got this week is, well, a very controversial one, and that is the trust obviously settling with the owners on the sale of the club, about their involvement in the sale of the club. And they've been offered some terms which they've accepted. So I'm not fully clued up on all of the details enough to have a proper opinion and comment on it right now. It's something I would need to read a lot more about to have a full understanding of the picture.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not sure I feel comfortable commenting on that because I'm not 100% sure of the ins and outs of it. There's definitely people better qualified than me to talk about that.
My initial view on it is, though, nothing about necessarily the deal that they've accepted or whatever, is I just think a lot of fans think too much is going to come out of, obviously they would open in legal proceedings on the sale of the club. I'm just not really sure what people are expecting to come out of that in a positive. People want the owners out. They want the Americans to go. And because the result of this is a settlement, I think that's what's disappointed them. And I don't really know what you're expecting. Something like this is never going to get rid of them out of the club. I
also believe the case wasn't so much against them. I think it was against
I thought it was against the sellers.
The selling party,
but again, we could be wrong. I'm not fully clued up on it. I just not really sure. After when I read originally about the legal proceedings, I don't know what would come out of it in a positive way, and in a way, it's not a good thing that that sort of thing is done and dusted and not hanging over the club. Yeah, I know people want the Americans out, but if it did go to court, there's probably a lot more money on one side of the battle than the other side. So I can't imagine that the trust was probably ever in a position where they were going to get something major out of that. If they've got anything out of it, that could be a bonus. Like I said before, I would comment on how good the deal is or what that means, or if maybe people have said they've sold out. I don't want to make any judgments on any of that until I fully understand the picture. But my immediate thought on the situation is expectations were not in line with actually what could have happened. I'm sure people in the comments can let us know what you think about it. It's obviously big news and a lot of opinions. But
I was very confused when I saw he'd released a club statement yesterday afternoon. He did sort of come out of the blue. So I imagine, as you said, I'm not a trust member. I've never have been. It doesn't sound like the members are particularly happy, and I'm sure there are people who do know perhaps what's going on and have a more informed opinion than I would.
I mean, there's a lot of people to keep happy, and I don't think you're ever going to get a solution that suits everybody.
No.
But it's tricky. It's all a tricky circumstance.
Yes.
The best thing we need is a little bit of consistency, a bit of harmony, and we can all move in the right direction together. And people are going to say, well, they need to invest more, this, that, the other. We got what we got at the moment, so we've got to try and make the best of it, I think, to an extent. I know the petition that's going around has also come out that is signed. 2,500, I think, have signed it. So let's see if anything comes of that. But again,
I'm not sure. I'm not
convinced anything.
A petition will convince them to sell up. I'm sure it'll be probably something that happens in terms of revenue. Would have to happen before that.
These businessmen are quite
survived at Hull as long as they did with some of the protests they had against them. I think we've got a lot more work to do yet if we want to get them out.
Yeah, but then looking at the bigger picture, we could also be in a situation like Derby County. So
exactly, I think
you've got to look at we're not, we want better perhaps, but I don't think we're nowhere near the worst.
No, there's definitely far worse owners out there. We have a club to support at the end of the day. I have been vocal in my criticism of the owners. There is obviously a lack of ambition is frustrating, and I think there is a middle ground between where we are and where someone like Derby is. But at the same time, I'd rather, if we're going to have to be on one side, I'd rather have a club to support than be in the situation that they are.
Yeah, and as I spoke to before, but with other people, going back through the Swans' history, there's been a lot worse.
Yeah,
well.
Definitely people like Petty and stuff like that, isn't it?
So, but like, I'm not here saying pro-Americans, by the way. I'm just...
No, I'm definitely not either. If one look at my Twitter and you see it, I'm not there.
No,
They're biggest supporter.
It's all context, and you've got to try and keep a solid head when looking at some of these things. And not everything's as easy as just it's calling them out and the job's fixed. But we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure there'll be more updates going forward, and I'll probably take some time at some point to read up on everything so I can make a proper judgment. Maybe I'll change my opinion after I read it. We'll see. Not much left then. We'll just touch quickly on the week ahead, the build up then. So we've got 2 games that we'll talk about for this week. So I want to say the next game, we've said Sheffield United away. Who's going to put a fiver on McBurney or Brewster goal?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a whole collection of them in that side, isn't there?
Horan, Gibbs White
as well. Yeah, I think Brewster is out. He's had a season-ending injury, I think. But I mean, you can put money on one of the other 3 scoring, can't you? It'll. I think they're well since Paul Heckingbottom has come in. They've really improved, and I think it's going to be a tough game for us. I mean, we've got
Isn't he the manager that oversaw their before the relegation?
Yeah, it was
They didn't give him the job.
Situation. I felt.
And then they've got someone else in, sacked him, and gone back to.
Yeah, it was
weird.
I think they gave him something like a 5-year deal as well when they brought him in, which is, I mean, severe Alan Pardew at Newcastle vibes I got from that.
Yeah, so he wasn't good enough in the summer, but then halfway through the season they come calling and give him 5 years.
I think it was either 4.5 years or 5.
No, it was. I remember watching Benjamin Bloom. It was quite odd.
Yeah,
situation.
very, very strange. And something about how results on a Saturday wouldn't matter. Or it was just. I remember Sheffield United fans being very unhappy at the time, but he's done an excellent job since coming in and really got what was an underperforming squad.
Yeah,
firing.
He has done a good job, but you could argue he's doing the job that should be happening with the squad they've got.
Exactly. I think they are the most on-form team in the league at the minute, though. But we've come up against sides that are doing well already this season, like West Brom earlier in the season, and beat them. So hopefully we can again.
Funny enough, other than Fulham and Cardiff, they are the third. Cardiff have had 4 wins in the last 5. Sheffield United have had 3 wins and 2 draws, so 1 point less. But and Fulham have 4 wins and 1 draw, so they're just flying.
They're flying.
Mitrovic is breaking records for fun.
Yeah, that's I can't get over that. He's going to. I don't even want to think about the.
So I reckon he's going to get like 45 by the end.
Yeah, I think that could be a pretty good guess. He'd lead our team for assists as well if he. I'm pretty sure he's got 8. He's either 7 or 8, which is just crazy to be honest.
What a player for this league, eh? Cheat code, I think people call him.
Yeah, he's far too good for this level.
What do you reckon about this game then? We're obviously going away to Sheffield. We've had a bit of a break, though. We've had a week. Week off. So how are you feeling?
I think a draw would be. We'd absolutely take a point from this one, but I'm not overly confident. But I think they're a good side. I think they might well beat us, but there's no need to be too disappointed about that. And I think the most important game this week is Bournemouth, who are faltering. It's at home. And I think if we can pick up, because obviously we've got a tough week coming up, if we can pick up perhaps 2 points or even 4 points from those 2 games, that would be probably quite a good week, to be honest, given they are both so far high up the table.
So, going to Bournemouth then. You're saying they're faltering. They did have a bit of a bad period, but they have won the last 3 again now, so they perhaps picking back up. I know they had that cup upset.
Yeah, that was a fun one to watch. That was a good Sunday evening game.
The return of Jamal Lowe and Ethan Laird, so more Swans players to watch out for. Seems like every club these days. I know. We had Clucas we didn't even talk about in the Stoke game, and Joe
Yeah,
Allen.
I think that was the only positive from that one, was that he didn't score, because he always seems to against us.
Yeah, exactly. Ethan Ladd still injured, like he still hasn't played for.
I think so. I think they said, I read that, popped up on my timeline today that I think they said that he should be back this week in training. Whether he'll
Probably
play
be starting against us then. Yeah, that's probably how it's going to work.
Maybe. Yeah, I think he was a good player for us. Can't imagine there'll be any sort of animosity towards him. But Bournemouth's away game, there was a very mixed reception for Jamalo coming on. Some people hurling abuse at him, some people applauding and chanting his name. It was a strange atmosphere.
Yeah. Bournemouth, I think, is going to be tricky, man. They signed so many players, haven't they? Like Todd Cantwell coming in. Oh, Kiefer Moore's injured now, isn't he? So that's not one to look out for anymore. But they're really going for it. So
I can't understand how he's going to keep that squad happy. There's going to be so many people on game time. But
I'm surprised Jamal Love's still on the bench, to be honest.
Yeah, I really did like him when he was here, I have to say. I think he was one of those who was a victim of Cooper going, but I don't think we should. I mean, he scored 14 goals last season. It's not a bad return. I don't want to forget how good he was for us at times, even if it did come in hot streaks.
He was definitely good for us. He scored last weekend against Blackpool, actually, but I don't think he set the world to light up at Bournemouth.
No, he's
had the
got
best
a couple
season.
of goals, but not 3
goals and 2 assists. Nowhere near where he got last year.
Yeah, it's not wonderful, is it?
So,
but you just know that's going to be 4 goals when they play us.
Yeah, it's kind of like bingo in it with the former players.
Yeah, so to be fair, we've actually done a lot better than I remember us doing before against former
Let's see
players.
If we can keep that going.
I just know that's gonna. After I've said that now, that's going to be the end of that run.
Yeah, I wonder if Freddie Woodman goes back into goal for Bournemouth. He didn't start there in the last game.
I thought that was a very strange signing when I saw he'd gone down there, given how well Travers has been doing this season. I was not sure why they'd loaned him out to potentially be a number 2. That does seem a bit odd.
It does indeed, and Travers is a bit harsh if you drop him as well. So,
definitely.
Do they need to sign him? Perhaps not.
I don't think so.
But I mean, they're hoarding the cash because you can.
I think they're doing the old Man United thing back in the 2000s of signing players so others can't have them.
Haven't they got like decent money in the club now? I think, haven't they?
Yeah, it could go horribly wrong, but if they're promoted, then they're not going to worry about it. I don't think, are they?
No. So, are you calling this one then?
I'm a little bit more confident about Bournemouth, to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of Scott Parker as a coach. I really don't think he's as good as people make him out to be, and I think it's the sort of game that, having seen West Brom earlier in the season, the sort of game that I could see us winning, to be honest. I'm going to guess 2-1, like the West Brom, if I had to make a prediction.
Well, I hope you're right. That would be
I'm quietly confident. Well, not so quietly as I've said it now, but I am a little bit confident about that one, and I'm not sure why. It could just be blind confidence, but I'm a lot more confident about that than the Sheffield United game.
Well, we'll see. But there we are then. Thank you very much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. Thanks for coming on. Do you want to remind everybody where they can find you again and your blog?
Yep. So my blog, as you said, is Vibe Football, which you can find at vibefootball.wordpress.com, or you can find me on Twitter, SCFC Ollie, and hopefully get a few new follows from this.
Everyone go and follow Ollie and go and check out his blog. Some wonderful football stuff on there. And thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to click the big red subscribe button. Helps us grow as a channel. We're really trying to get to 500 subscribers at the moment. So click that button for us. And click the like as well, because it allows more people to see our content. It allows more people to get involved in the discussion. And let us know in the comments what you think about everything we discussed in this video as well. And on that note, we shall see you next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming, Ollie. And
Thank you.
Enjoy the weekend. Be careful out there in the storm. We shall catch you next time.